Hi, I'm Admiral, and in this video, I'll be getting revenge. Longtime viewers may remember that one time when Diantha kicked my butt up and down Kalos for well over 3 hours the first time I played Pokémon X. And if you're new, you're probably asking a very reasonable question. Hey Admiral, isn't Diantha widely considered to be one of the easiest, if not the single easiest champion in the entire franchise? And to that I say, yes. However, I was playing the game with just a Goodra, who doesn't exactly match up well into her ace Mega Gardevoir, so I think that buys a little back. This time, let's all watch and see what happens when I approach this game with an actual well-built team of 6 fully trained Pokemon, as I demonstrate that yes, I am good at these games, I promise. My path to vengeance starts with me getting the first Pokemon of the run, a Fennekin. I always take the Fire Starter and I love foxes, so this is a match made in heaven. I also make some new friends, who encourage me to come up with a nickname for myself. I want them to call me Giga Chadmiral, but settle for just regular old Admiral thanks to the character limit. I immediately have to battle Shauna, and one thing I didn't really notice on my first playthrough is how fast the opening of this game is. You load in, get a starter, and off you go. It's actually really nice to just get right into the thick of it. Anyway, 2 embers easily cook Shauna's chestpin, so I head to Santaloon Forest after a stop off at home and a quick catching tutorial. This is also where I remember to check Fennekin's nature, learning that he'll have neutral stat growth. While I'm there, I catch a Fletchling. Even with a fire type already in the party, this little fella's lonely nature and more physical moveset ensure that he'll be an important member of the team. Even without his later fire type, his current flying type means that he's going to be a great partner for Fennekin as we approach the first gym leader, Viola, and her bug types. So I go ahead and grind the team until he learns Peck at level 10 and then take on the gym. One of the gym trainers poisoned Fletchling before the fight, and you can't leave until after fighting the gym leader, so we come in at a disadvantage as Viola leads with the Surskit. Surskit outspeeds to set up a water sport as we take it deep into the red with a Peck. Viola heals, so I have Fletchling hit a quick attack for some chip damage. After that, another Peck is able to finish it after Surskit just hits a bubble. Vivillon comes out next, so I bring in Fennekin. Vivillon also outspeeds, just going for tackle as we hit fairly soft embers for the first 2 turns. Once water sport wears off, we hit a massive ember to leave Vivillon with just a touch of HP. Thanks to shield dust, there's no chance of a burn, so we just have to hit a final ember to close out the battle. From there, it's off to Lumio City. It's a lovely place, though the forced perspective makes navigation a bit nauseating for me. Luckily, Sina and Dexia were around to guide me to the professor's lab. Sycamore is a pretty cool dude, only held back by the unfortunate circumstances of his birth. He is, sadly, the Pokemon equivalent of French. After a quick battle, he offers me my choice of one of the Kanto starters. While I normally like to only use new Pokemon for these playthroughs, I decide that Bulbasaur will join the team for a few reasons. First, the Rock Gym is next, if my memory is right, so having a Grass type will be nice. Second, having a Poison type will be very helpful for dealing with Fairy types. And third, Generation 6 actually introduces the fewest Pokemon of any generation, with only 72 new faces. So I'm going to use my best options, though they may not be the newest to the franchise. With that disclaimer out of the way, I meet Lysander for the first time, and even if he didn't do all of that evil stuff towards the end of the game, he should still be locked up for his haircut, and his barber should be jailed too for actually giving it to him. We immediately run into him again when trying to hang with Serena, and he's there being super weird to Diantha. Even though I've declared her my mortal enemy for this specific run of the game, I can't help but pity her as Lysander makes the whole room wildly uncomfortable, which will be a common theme for this game. Bad vibes aside, he leaves, Diantha properly introduces herself, and I get out of town. A Lucario jumps me as soon as I step foot out of the gate, but luckily I don't have to battle it. That lets me properly move on to our next stop on the journey, Campfire Town. The journey itself is uneventful, except for Fennekin evolving into Braixen and a battle against Tierno. The fight is easy, so I just continue doing story stuff. I have to find a Poké-Flute to wake a Snorlax, so Shauna and I run around a local mansion for a while to get it. While I'm there, I catch a Honedge, whose phenomenal Steel Ghost typing is going to be a great defensive option for the rest of the playthrough. Fletchling also evolves into Fletchinder, so we wake Snorlax and get a move on. I don't get very far before Serena ambushes me and the fellas in the friend group with a suggestion for a double battle, but luckily she's my teammate, so it's easy. From there, it's just a lot of travel between minor story beats, so I'll just cover the two big things. First, I catch a Bagon. I'm not sure if I'll use it, but Salamence is easily one of my favorite Pokemon, so I'd like to keep the option available. After that, I meet Team Flare for the first time, beat them up, and get a Tyrunt. Luckily, we're just about done with the story stuff for the time being as I prepare to tackle the Rock Gym. After clearing out a bunch of gym trainers and wondering what accommodations Grant provides to wheelchair users that want to challenge his gym, I'm ready to battle. Grant leads with Amara and I send out Ivysaur. We outspeed and hit Sleep Powder and then hit Amara hard with the super effective Razor Leaf on the next turn. Amara is just above half health, so I decide to go for Vine Whip to keep Amara out of healing range, while making sure that our next Razor Leaf will secure the knockout. Unfortunately, that doesn't work, but fortunately it's because Ivysaur gets a crit, straight up finishing Amara off. Next up is Tyrunt, and while I don't have any super effective moves for him, I do have a plan. That starts with hitting a Sleep Powder, which Ivysaur misses. Grant has Tyrunt lower Ivysaur's speed with a Rock Tomb, but we're still okay since Ivysaur can just hit Sleep Powder on the next turn. Oh. Tyrunt's Bite not only crits, but also makes Ivysaur flinch, so my strategy just got a lot less safe. This just furthers my conspiracy theory that the Bulbasaur line has cursed luck, but that's a story for another day. Ivysaur goes down, so I bring in my own Tyrunt for a mirror match. I have my Tyrunt start going for Charm, knocking Grant's Tyrunt's attack down as far as I can get it, and then we just start trading hits. Rock Tomb ensures that we never outspeed, so we have to deal with flinches from Bite and Stomp, and Grant uses a Hyper Potion, which is insane since this is only the second gym, but we eventually pull out the win. After that, it's a long trek to the home of the next gym, Shallower City. There's Team Flare stuff, a long cave, and then I have to get the team ready to fight the fighting gym. Before I do that, though, I head to the Tower of Mastery to battle Serena for the right to use Mega Evolution, a mechanic that I'm sure will be relevant for years to come. After that, I start training for the fighting gym, but about halfway through, I realize that Corinna's whole team only has one move that can actually damage Honedge, so I don't need to do much of anything for prep. While I'm clearing out the gym trainers, Ivysaur and Bagon both evolve, but this part of the video isn't really about them, so I'm just gonna skip it. Corinna leads with Mienfoo, and I lead with Honedge. I set up 3 sword stances and automatizes a piece as the poor thing just goes for Fake Out over and over. I guess the game isn't programmed for players to have a ghost type this early, for some reason. I feel kind of bad for the little fella, but one-shot it with Slash anyway. Next out is Machoke, whose Rock Tomb is the only move that can hit us, but it doesn't matter because we outspeed in one-shot. Last out is Hawlucha, who also goes down to Slash, completing the easiest sweep I've ever done without a broom. After that, I head back to the Tower of Mastery for my Mega Ring and a Mega Lucario mirror match, and end up subbing Lucario in for Shelgon. On my way out of town, I run into Serena again, who gifts me the HM for Surf, and it's about here that I realize that I don't have a single water type yet. Whoops. I catch a Love Disc real quick, swap Lucario out for it, and from there make my way to Coumarine City, home of the next gym. Honedge evolves into Doublade on the way, so I need to find time to search for a Dusk Stone so I can evolve it into Aegislash. Once I make it to Coumarine, Serena calls to challenge me to another battle, which feels a bit silly since I literally just beat her. But what do I know? I'm just the guy that's easily won every rival battle so far. I make my way deeper into town by way of the monorail station, where I run into Sycamore and Diantha again. Sycamore gives me the HM for Fly, Diantha considers the roles that authenticity and human connection play to the work of an actor, and I move on. While I beat Serena, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. It's free, it helps me out a lot, and studies have shown that it can actually be good for your health. That win gets Brixen to evolve into Delphox, which is convenient since we're right outside of the grass gym. I enter Ramos's domain, which is somehow even less disability-friendly than Grant's gym, and prepare to burn it all down. Ramos leads with Jumpluff, and I lead with Delphox. We outspeed to hit a Mystical Fire that barely misses out on a one-shot, but that ends up being okay. We take a Soft Acrobatics in return, and then I hit a Flame Charge for chip damage as Ramos heals. We hit another one to finish Jumpluff off, so we're at +2 speed as Go-Goat comes in. We hit a Mystical Fire for about 3/4 of Go-Goat's HP, and he retaliates with a pretty hard Bulldoze. A second Mystical Fire finishes him off, so Ramos sends out his last Pokemon, a Weepinbell. One last Mystical Fire finally sees us one-shot an opponent in this battle, earning us the badge. That fight was never really going to be hard, since we had Fletchinder in the back with Fly. Speaking of which, the shared experience from the battle got Fletchinder to evolve, so now we have a Talent Flame. I take this time to backtrack to Glittering Cave to pick up the TM for Shadowclaw for Doublade, and then move on with my adventure. I run into Team Flare again as they siphon energy from the power plant, but they're not an issue for my team as we cut them down like... Well, I guess this joke would have been better for the grass gym, huh? Look, the point is that it was easy, so I'm just gonna keep going. I arrive in Lumiose once again and head straight for the gym, a battle against Clement's electric types. He leads with Emolga, and I lead with Tyrunt. I go for Stealth Rock to break Magneton's Sturdy when it comes out, but Emolga outspeeds and Volt switches Magneton in before Stealth Rock is up, so my plan for the gym pretty much immediately falls apart. Luckily, I know a thing or two about improvising. I hard switch into Lucario on a mirror shot from Magneton, which is great since it means that there's no chance of getting paralyzed on the switch in. I have Lucario Mega Evolve and go for Power Up Punch, bringing Magneton into the red as they set up Electric Terrain. From there, Clement just heals a bunch as Sturdy keeps Magneton standing, so we're at +4 attack by the time we get to face a new opponent. Heliolisk comes in, but its primary normal typing ensures that Power Up Punch one-shots, especially after Stealth Rock Chip. And it's the same for Emolga after, so we stumble our way into a surprisingly effective strategy for the win. I'm not surprised that Clement's battle was a bit scuffed, because I kind of hate the Lumiose gym. Prism Tower is a wonderful setting, and the fight itself is never hard, but why do I have to fight someone when I get the quiz answer right? It's just a worse version of the Cinnabar gym, and my goat Blaine would never do me dirty the way Clement does. After another classic uncomfortable Lysander conversation, I head to Route 14 for another classic, boring, and easy Serena battle, and then my next stop is Laver. The gym there is a fairy gym, and I have a Lucario who can learn Poison Jab, so I'm not super worried. I am a bit concerned by my lack of coverage otherwise, but it can't be helped unless I somewhat overlevel Doublade, and I don't think it's that urgent. On my way, Tyrunt finally evolves, and then it's time for the gym after a bit of leveling. Valerie leads with Mawile, and I send out Lucario. I go for Sword Stance, forgetting to Mega Evolve, before Mawile hits a weak crunch. After that, I Mega Evolve and hit a Power Up Punch to bring Mawile deep into the red as she sets up an Iron Defense. Another Power Up Punch as Valerie heals brings Mawile into yellow health, so one more good whack takes her down for good. After that, Mr. Mime comes out, but gets sent back just as quickly from the Poison Jab. The same thing happens to poor Sylveon, so we win a straightforward battle to earn the badge. After that, I liberate the Pokeball factory from Team Flare with Serena, and travel to Dendemil Town next. I have to do more story stuff, but it's nothing worth mentioning, so I'll just start talking about the next gym while maybe playing it in the background. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, our next matchup is a Psychic gym, which is good because I have a hard-hitting Ghost type. Sadly, I can't get a Duskstone to evolve Doublade until I finish off Team Flare for good, but Swords Dance and Shadowclaw should be more than enough to break the gym wide open. I arrive in Anastar, beat Serena, and start the gym battle. Olympia leads with Sigilyph, and I send out Doublade. Sigilyph outspeeds to set up a Reflect, and I have Doublade set up a Sword Stance. A Psychic from Sigilyph on the next turn does decent damage as I set up a second Sword Stance, and from there, it's just a Shadowclaw sweep. The only threat is Meowstic, who outspeeds and knows Shadow Ball, but Olympia uses Calm Mind instead, so it's all good. Plus, even if Doublade were to go down, I still have Strong Jaw Tyrantrum with Crunch in the back, so this was never going to be a particularly troubling gym. Just like pretty much everything else so far. I pop out of the gym, and Serena's immediately ready to run it back. As a side note, she's got a great attitude about losing all the time, I gotta say. But we're interrupted by Lysander announcing his plan to nuke the world. Anytime a villain does this type of weird, "Hey guys, I'm a bad guy, here's my plan," announcement for the world, it makes me think of the ending of Watchmen, where Ozymandias is like, "Why would I tell you guys my plan if there was literally any chance of you stopping it?" And I really think more villains should follow that line of thinking. Luckily, Lysander doesn't, so I get to be the one to stop him. I rush off to Lumiose to find Team Flare's secret base, kick everyone's asses there, and then I go back to Geosenge to find Team Flare's more secret base, I guess? It's under the quote-unquote ultimate weapon, so I'm not sure if it even counts as being theirs, or if it predates them and was part of the actual construction of the weapon. I guess it doesn't matter, since I'm going to take out everyone here too and prevent the apocalypse. And that's exactly what I do. Serena and I clear out a ton of Team Flare members, then I catch Xerneas and use it to single-handedly sweep Lysander's team, so we're back on track to get the final badge and finish out the run. I fly back to Anastar and make my way south, stopping off in Terminus Cave to find a Duskstone. I find myself in Kuroe battling Sycamore before remembering to actually use it, so we finally have Aegislash, giving us a wildly versatile Pokemon with solid stab moves and setup potential. I head back to Dandemel to have Aegislash learn King's Shield, so next is our rival gauntlet before the last gym. It's pretty straightforward, especially with our level advantage, so I'm just going to skip right to the Ice Gym. Wulfric leads with Abomasnow, and I send out Delphox. We outspeed to set up a sunny day before Abomasnow retaliates with a truly sad Energy Ball. After that, we one-shot with Flamethrower. Avalugg is out next, so we stay in with Delphox since its base special defense is in the 40s. Another Flamethrower one-shots, as expected, so I bring in Lucario to face Wulfric's last Pokemon, a Cryogonal. Mega Evolving here would be major overkill, so we just go right for close combat to one-shot, winning the freest badge of the entire playthrough. Now all I have left is Victory Road, and then I'm clear to take on the Elite Four, the final obstacles to my vengeance. You know, if I were better at script writing, that probably would have been a bigger part of the video so far, but I guess I know what I can work on going forward. While I'm here, there's another Serena fight to contend with, so I figure I should at least show you this one since it's the last one of the run. She leads with Meowstic, and I lead with Aegislash. She outspeeds to hit a Shadow Ball, but we're in Shield form, so it barely leaves a scratch before we transition to Blade form and one-shot with Shadow Claw. Next out is Flareon, so I bring in Tyrantrum. We outspeed this time, one-shotting with Earthquake. I bring Lucario out for Serena's next Pokemon, Greninja. I have Lucario Mega Evolve as Greninja outspeeds to hit a soft Dark Pulse. We retaliate with Aura Sphere to one-shot, so it's back over to Tyrantrum as Altaria comes into battle. We outspeed to one-shot with a Head Smash, so I once again bring out Lucario for her last team member, Absol. We outspeed one last time to hit a devastating close combat to finish things off. As I stare up at the Pokemon League headquarters, it's time to take a final look at the team and their stats. Statistically, we're equipped with some truly great Pokemon. Lucario's offense is insane, and I'm pretty sure that Talonflame is faster than anything we could ever come up against. My only concern is our type coverage. We're pretty lacking outside of Stab, so I'll just have to use favorable matchups wherever I can find them. Now for the actual fights. First on the chopping block are Malva and her fire types. I lead with Lucario into her Pyroar, and we're immediately ahead as Lucario Mega Evolves and one-shots with close combat. Malva brings in her Talonflame next, so I send out Tyrantrum. Her Talonflame outspeeds to hit a Brave Bird, but it hardly scratches our bulky dinosaur. Rocky Helmet and Recoil leave Talonflame a bit worse off than Tyrantrum, who retaliates with a quad-effective Stab Head Smash to devastate the Spicy Chicken. Malva brings out Torkoal next, and I keep Tyrantrum on the field. We miss our first Head Smash, which lets Torkoal retaliate with a hard Earthquake. On the next turn, we're able to connect, taking both Pokemon down. Last up for Malva is her Chandelure, and I bring out Lucario. This is a misplay on my part, since I may or may not have forgotten her last Pokemon, and because Recoil took Tyrantrum down, the game didn't tell me like it normally would on Switch Battle Mode. We outspeed to hit a soft Poison Jab, but luckily Chandelure just goes for Confuse Ray. From here, I just end up switching around to drop Confusion, as Chandelure basically only ever goes for Flamethrower and Confuse Ray, so I go for damage with Talonflame where I can find it. Malva ends up healing at one point, but we eventually get it down without too much fuss, winning our first Elite Four matchup. Next are Seabold and his Water team. This one ends up just being a Xerneas sweep. Power Up Geomancy is just way too good not to use. That's exactly what we do into his lead Clawitzer, who retaliates with a Water Pulse. I have Xerneas go for Hornleech next, which leaves Clawitzer in yellow health as it just goes for another Water Pulse, which manages to confuse Xerneas. In hindsight, Moonblast is literally always the correct move into every single one of these matchups, but I'm stubborn, which you'll see throughout the rest of this fight. We end up breaking through Confusion twice to finish Clawitzer off with a Moonblast after another Hornleech fails to finish it, so we stay in for Gyarados. This time I just go for Moonblast, but Xerneas hits itself twice as Gyarados just sets up with Dragon Dance. Luckily, we snap out of Confusion to one-shot before we can take any damage, so I go unpunished. Next out is Barbaracle, and I, fool that I am, go for Hornleech, which doesn't one-shot, obviously, because of Gyarados' Intimidate. That means that we end up taking a ton of damage from a critical Stone Edge, but I go for Hornleech again anyway. That finishes Barbarical off and gets us back above half health as Starmie comes out, and I finally learned my lesson and just hit Moonblast to end it. Third is Strasna, and if you like dragon types as much as I do, you may want to look away. I have enough power herbs for the Elite Four and Champion, so we lead Xerneas again as Strasna leads Dragalge. We outspeed to set up with a one-turn Geomancy and take a solid Sludge Bomb after. Luckily, it doesn't poison, so Xerneas is free to outspeed and one-shot Dragalge, Altaria, Noivern, and Druddigon with Moonblast. And yet that somehow still didn't feel as easy as Wulfric. Last is Wickstrom's Steel Team, another good matchup for my Pokepals. I lead Delphox into his Klefki, whose Prankster ability lets it move first to hit Delphox with Torment. We retaliate with Flamethrower to one-shot, and stay in as Probopass comes out. I go for Calm Mind, knowing that P-Pass just wants to go for Power Gem, and I end up being right as Delphox takes a pretty solid hit. After that, we break Sturdy with Psychic and take another Power Gem. We hit hard with Flamethrower, but Probopass barely survives, so I hit another Psychic as Wickstrom heals. Our next Flamethrower finishes Probopass off, so we bring in Talonflame as Caesar comes out. I could stay in with Delphox here, but Priority Bullet Punch almost definitely finishes him off, so a switch is better. We outspeed to one-shot with Flame Charge and stay in as Aegislash enters battle. I'm actually really proud of how well I read the AI for this last matchup. I go for Flame Charge first as Aegislash stays in the defensive shield form and take a Shadow Claw in return. I correctly predict a King's Shield next, so I go for Roost. If a Pokemon makes contact with King's Shield, it lowers their attack, so it's important that I don't just throw moves out until Aegislash faints. I go for Flame Charge again, sending Aegislash into the yellow before taking another Shadow Claw, and here's where I see my opportunity. Aegislash is deep into healing range in its frailer Blade form after Flame Body burns him. I go for Flame Charge as Wickstrom heals, sending Aegislash right back down into the red. I don't think he'll heal again or go for King's Shield, so I hit one last Flame Charge off of the greatest AI predictions of my career, closing out the Elite Four gauntlet, and I just wish I could do that to my friends on Showdown too. Now is the moment of my triumph. Diantha is a few steps away, and so too is my redemption as a player. She's definitely not the easiest champion, Gita exists after all, but with a full team of 6, there is no excuse for a loss here. I'm going to let the battle speak for itself. Uncut, unedited, and unnarrated. Just pure gameplay. Alright, so that was a bit anticlimactic. Mega Lucario is absolutely busted, especially with adaptability. It's kind of insane that the game just gives it to you. Lucario did such a great job carrying the 90% of the run that he was in that it only felt right to let him close things out for us. It may surprise some of you to learn this, but I've never actually used Lucario before. I've always known that it's a stellar Pokemon, but I've just never made room for one on my team since there's never really been a need before. Call him Golisopod the way he left a great first impression. Terrible jokes aside, it's nice to be reminded that yes, I am good at these games. Goodra is a great support Pokemon, but I will never just use a single Goodra again. That's best left to much better players than me. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And regardless of whether or not you liked it, feel free to leave a comment. Your feedback helps me know what I can improve on and what you're enjoying, so it's the single most helpful thing you can do, so long as it's constructive. I'm not actually sure what I want to do next. I have plans for a non-Pokemon video, I want to do an Emerald randomizer, I'd like to play Black 2 for the first time, as well as Ultra Sun normally, and I want to work on Breeding Explained. On top of all of that, I have some ideas for stuff to do after I finish my personal playthrough of the Scarlet and Violet DLC, and a special entry into the Pseudo-Legendary series, so I have no clue where to start. It'll probably be Breeding Explained, since a few people have asked for it, but either way, there's a lot in the works over here, so I hope you'll stick around for it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.